the the other thing that he talked about was the- she made mention of tourism causes cultural erosion, honorable speaker. Rather than eroding culture, tourism preserve and monitors heritage. UNESCO shows that over 200 endangered cultural practices in developing countries have been revitalized through community-based tourism. So in the Gambia, traditional music, dance, and craft now generate income because because tourists value authenticity. This gives citizens financial incentive to maintain their culture. Honorable Speaker, um, it's so amusing that the Prime Minister know any she did not know any better. Like some of the points, you cannot talk about tourism without the possibility of her pre-reviewing some of these points. It baffled me that he have she have no knowledge about some of these things. My first one was tourism drive foreign exchange and infrastructure development. Honorable Speaker, if there's anything to go by, this is an open secret to anyone or to everyone. How many development initiative how many development initiatives have been in we have seen outbreak communities thanks to tourism are building school
POI,
construction hospital and so on in the Gambia as per you as
POI,
per UNTWO 2020 report BBC Samira Ahmed has
POI.
tourism generate US you can you give me a second so I give you a chance to POY please. US 16 billions, for sub-Saharan Africa annually. So it catalyzes investment in road, airport, hotels, and digital infrastructure. Honorable Speaker, what is the benefits citizen in the Gambia infrastructure development, particularly in Kersering, in Bijulo, come from tourism, not from foreign aids. Um, my phone point, how come you talk about tourism without make mention of this point? He cannot even talk about he cannot preview this point. My second point is tourism encourage environmental protection through ecotourism. According to UNEP 2020 report, published by Standard newspaper on 18 October 2020, that ecotourism over 75 billion annually conservation in developing countries.
POI.
Example of this are example of this, Rwanda and Costa Rica have transformed biodiversity into a sustainable economic asset, providing local citizen incentive. Now you don't even know how to give somebody a chance to give it. Now come with your PR if you have any. You interrupted Matthew, you cannot even make a POI. Have your question on.
I said POI. I have a question. Wait.
I accept POI 15 seconds, you
You
cannot
did
bring
not
it out.
accept my
Come on.
POI. You did not accept my POI. You said wait a second.
Accept POI.
Okay,
Oh, look
finish.
here how because
You
35th point
claim
tourism,
tourism
you
is
cannot
wealth.
even accept
Give the
POI.
United Nations
The
Conference
fifth
on
point
Trade
is
and
honorable speaker,
Development
tourism first
confirm up to
cultural
80%
man,
of
this guy don't
revenue
know how to do this.
leaks
He's
out of
talking, he's
country.
talking. Your POY is rejected. Can you have some sense and give me some space to go on? The fifth point
Okay,
is
I have
tourism
given
first and
you the sense.
social
You can
policy.
go ahead.
Sorry, POI is
Oh my
closed. POI
God.
is closed.
Can you see this? Oh my God, I see even understand stuff. My point is that tourism for social cohesion and global mindset. Reported by a newspaper on the 17th October 2025, know that tourism related jobs are among the five, most skills and global so. Now to the story of my debate. Let me go to summary of here. Honorable,
I'm sorry
I'm
to
so much
interrupt,
disappointed
but
on
could
Prime Minister.
we
You don't even know
please
how
have
those things.
more order in the house?
Reminded the House of the motion, redefined the key terms with sources. Some when pre-review some of the logical claims of the government bench, um, and give some of the fully funded developed back points which were tourism generated foreign and I accept you cannot make now to summary in consolidating all the points of the speaker. Tourism is a developing sustainability collectively far outweigh isolated harms. And this is what we are doing. This is way far. So therefore, we are
Yes, thank you very much, opposition leader. Your time, your time, opposition leader. Opposition leader. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for that submission. And I fear your time is up. If you guys could give the adjudication panel a few moments to put ourselves together, and then we'll proceed to the second half of the debate.
People that went earlier. So when they, I will advise them. Then from there, I will link them with the other guys. From there, they will seek advice from those people to what to do to move further. Because normally when they reach, most of them when they reach Italy, they don't stay there. They find their way to other destinations like German, Finland, Sweden, Australia, and other places.
But what if they don't make it alive through the Mediterranean? What if they die on the route?
We have experience, for me specifically, none of my people die or get lost. No, what I do experience is that they are at times kidnapped by the Arab people. So when they are kidnapped,
You're saying that once they arrive in Libya, they're kidnapped by Libyans?
yes, some are used to be kidnapped. You know, normally those Arabs, they used to raid them, they used to raid their camp. So when they raid the camp, normally they used to kidnap some of them and take them to prison, or normally at their own local prison. So they used to be kidnapped at times. So in that, the Arab, they don't need anything from them. The only thing they need from them is the money. They don't normally kill them or do other things like that. The only thing they need is normally is money. So all what they do, they just contact me. When they contact me, then I will also contact the parents or their sponsor, or their sponsors. So I talk with them. We see how best to take them out from those prisons or under detention.
This year alone, international organizations repatriated 800 Gambians that were detained in Libya. Many are still being held in various detention centers across the country. For those that have come back to Gambia, it's an uneasy return home, ashamed to have come back to their families empty-handed.
If I wanted to go to Europe, to Italy and Germany, how much would I have to pay you?
$2,000
So it costs $2,000 to get from Banjul
from Banjul.
to the coast, the shores of Europe.
Yeah, from Banjul up to Italy.
Who are the people that come to you asking to go to Europe?
Normally they are students, and some are unemployed youths, both boys and girls. To be specific, most of them are teenagers. But normally they cannot go without the national ID card. So hence the ID card, they are no more kids, they are adults.
So they go with fake papers.
Some go with fake papers, some goes with real papers.
Why do teenagers come to you to go to Europe?
Yeah, you know, they think that so the expectation is high that when you are in Europe, you have a better life, better living condition, better education, better food to eat, and other things.
Until Yahya Jammeh left office in January 2017, most Gambians were fleeing their former president's repressive regime. According to the International Organization for Migration, Gambians made up the largest group of migrants from West Africa to cross the Mediterranean last year. For 23 years, Jammeh ruled the country with an iron fist, stifling freedom of speech, threatening to kill homosexuals, and throwing into prison anyone daring to question him. Meanwhile, he kept the country open to European tourists. Over the years, British, Dutch, and Scandinavians have come here on cheap holidays organized by tour operators. Young Gambians exposed to freedoms Europeans have, but denied to them, grew increasingly angry. Most of the revenue from tourism went to Jammeh and his entourage. And so, risking it all and going abroad became for many the only way out.
Under Yahya Jammeh, was there as many people leaving the country as there is now?
Basically now, for me, for the past 2-3 months, I don't have a single customer that want to go to Europe.
So since Yahya Jammeh has left,
Since I don't have
people
left,
don't want to go?
yeah, now the business is even down. The business is even down. Right now, as I'm speaking right now, I even quit the business because it's no more working. Because people now they have a very high hope on the new government. You know, initially they used to access the back way because Yaya Jammeh, everything was very under control of the ex-president. So even education was difficult, feeding was difficult, employment was the worst before employment because normally you go up to university, you're gonna have a better job to secure for yourself. So those were the reasons why people normally use the back way to enter Europe.
Why do you help them take this journey that is so dangerous?
Yeah, because me normally before I assist them, I used to advise them first. Many immigrants they used to go by themselves up to this place, Burkina Faso. You know, Burkina Faso was very difficult to pass Burkina Faso and enter this place, Niger. So when they reach there, when they have some problems, that is the time normally they call me for me to stand for them. I used to have this thing now, agent in Burkina Faso. So I just need to call that guy that those people were under my control. They went up to Burkina Faso. They have issues there. So I need for them to assist those people. From there, they assist them.
All these people, these agents that you say, they're human traffickers. They're trafficking humans. What you're doing is human trafficking.
I don't call it trafficking because we never take them by force. They normally go with their own will. So I cannot call it trafficking. But I don't even go around in the town or in the villages to seek for customers.
Thank you so much. Pardon?
Customers seek for me.
All right. So if the next speaker, the deputy prime minister, is set, the house is ready for him or her.
Am I audible, please? Am I audible and visible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. They came with cameras, not swords, with dollars, not demands, with standards, not brands. But make no mistakes, tourism in its current form is a Trojan horse. It enters with smiles, but leaves with our dignity, our future, and our land. Mr. Speaker, honorable members of the House, our stance is clear. We judge tourism by its effect on ordinary citizens in developing countries. Mr. Speaker, allow me to give you the structure of my debate. I will first start by debunking the groundless points made by the opposition. I will strengthen the points of my prime minister. I will give my own points backed by statistics. I will then accept a POI. I shall then summarize. I will then conclude. Mr. Speaker, before debunking the points of this opposition bench, I mean, as the saying goes, we rise by uplifting others. So fear not opposition bench. I'm here to educate you. Listen and learn. So, Mr. Speaker, they made mention of tourism, tourism funds infrastructure development. Tourism funds infrastructure development. Okay, this is a classic half truth. The infrastructure is an enclave is enclave infrastructure, wider roads to resorts, private power grids for hotels, and desalination plants that exclusively serve tourist centers. This often diverts public funds and resources away from the rural clinics, local schools, and most importantly, domestic utilities. Mr. Speaker, they also made mention of national income. I mean, a rising GDP means little when the wealth is not circulating among the citizens. As the Prime Minister stated, up to 80% leakages. This GDP growth is a statistical mirage. It looks good on paper for international lenders, but does not put food on the tables of local people. Mr. Speaker, this will then take me to strengthen the point of my Prime Minister. On economic exploitation, Mr. Speaker, tourism often sells culture instead of on economic exploitation. Tourism promises prosperity but delivers dependency. In the Gambia, over 70% of tourism businesses are foreign owned according to the United Nations Development Program, meaning profits flow abroad while locals remain in low wage seasonal jobs. So, in short, we can say tourism in developing nations is a golden tree planted in foreign soil. Local see its beauty, but never taste its fruit. Mr. Speaker, on our second point, on cultural erosion. Tourism often sells culture instead of celebrating it. A United Nations World Tourism Organization study found that 65% of host communities feel tourism harms their tradition. So, when culture becomes a product, people become performers, and heritage loses its heartbeat. Mr. Speaker, moving on to our last but not the least point on environmental degradation. The Prime Minister mentioned Bali's water crisis. Tourism strains fragile ecosystem. The United Nations Environmental Program reports that a tourist uses 3 times more water than a local citizen does.
POI, POI,
Okay, come on.
what percentage in terms of GDP does tourism contribute to the national development? Because you haven't make mention of that, and you just talking blah 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 blah. The question is,
Wait,
what percentage? What percentage? If you can clarify that, because we said it doesn't contribute to it.
listen.
I'm
My
sure you
prime
don't know
minister
about.
to my
I'm sure you don't know that.
listen. My prime minister mentioned that there is up to there's an up 80% leakages. So this automatically tells you that
Give
this
me
GDP or
percentage.
this
Give me
GDP point
percentage.
does not stand.
Oh my God,
does,
you know
does not
nothing
stand.
about tourism.
Listen. Mr. Speaker, moving on to her last point, environmental degradation. The Prime Minister mentioned Bali's water crisis. Tourism strains fragile ecosystem. The United Nations Environmental Program reported that a tourist uses 3 times more water than a local citizen does. So when the land that feeds us is turned into a land that entertains others, we lose both our soil and our soul. Mr. Speaker, this will then take me to my 3 solid points. My first point will be on public health strain. So tourism can place a severe burden on local health system. During peak tourist seasons, hospitals in popular destinations often become overcrowded with medical resources stretched beyond capacities. In 2022, the WHO reported that in Southeast Asian tourist hotspots, there was a 25% increase in demand for healthcare service during high tourist arrival period. So this surge leaves locals underserved with longer wait time and produce access to emergency care and strained medical personnel. In addition, mass tourism increased risks of communicable diseases. According to the WHO, during peak tourist seasons in Thailand and Bali, dengue fever and other borne illnesses rose by 15 to 20%, excessively affecting local residents who rely on public health services. So, in short, while tourists enjoy paradise, citizens are left fighting for basic health care, proving that tourism prioritizes profits over people's life. Mr. Speaker, this will then take me to my second point, housing crisis and inflation. Tourism significantly influenced housing crisis, forcing long-term residents out of their own communities. According to the Urban Impact in 2021, it reports that in major tourist cities, rent rose by 35% over 5 years due to short-term rentals and investor-driven demand. So, I mean, in cities also like Dubrovnik, Barcelona, Venice, long-term residents have been displaced to make to make way for vacation rentals, while local wages remain stagnant. This creates a housing crisis where locals cannot afford basic shelter. Mr. Speaker, moreover, inflation in goods and service in tourist dominant areas often exceed 10 to 15% above national average reported by the International Labour Organization. So without a doubt, this further strains household budgets. Tourism can build luxurious villas and resorts, but for citizens who live there, it turns their own homes into commodities they can no longer afford. Mr. Speaker, this will then take me to my last but not the least point on political marginalization and loss of local agency. In tourism-dependent developing countries, government often prioritize foreign investors over local citizens, limiting community participation in critical decisions. The studies from the United Nations Development Program shows that in heavily touristic areas, over 60% of land and coastal planning decisions favor foreign resorts and often disregard traditional land rights. So, even in the Gambia, some coastal development for tourism have redirected land use by nature reserves, local fishermen, and farmers for resort projects. And some of these projects are the Sadauda Keravajawara Conference Hall and then the Carton Bay project. So this is actually giving more power to investors than citizens themselves. This reduces local control over natural resources, leaving communities with little say over their environment and future. Mr. Speaker, this will then take me to the summary of my debate. I started by debunking the groundless claims made by this clueless opposition bench, and then I strengthened the points of my prime minister, which were economic exploitation, cultural erosion, and environmental degradation. I then give my own points backed by statistics. My first point was public health strain, house crisis and inflation, political marginalization, and loss of local agency. I then accepted a POI, but this, okay. Mr. Speaker, this will then take me to the conclusion of my debate. Mr. Speaker, honorable members of the House, tourism is like a mirage. From afar, it seems to promise prosperity, but those who work the land feels only poverty, overcrowding, and lost heritage. Citizens are paying the price for profits that are never theirs. Let the judgment be final. Let our judgment be final. Our voice be clear. We reject an industry that takes more than it gives. Vote for this motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Prime Minister. So we would want the judges to be given at least 5 minutes, please.
How did you get into this business?
I get into this business in 2010 because initially one of my friend or my brother wanted to go through the way. So we made some investigation or some inquiries about the procedures. So I booked for my younger brother. He went up to Niger,
Your own brother.
my own cousin brother. So when he reached this place, Niger, so we need to send him, we need to send him some money in Niger for him to proceed. But we cannot send the money directly to him. So we need somebody that live in Niger that can assist him. So he did his consultation in Niger. So he came across with one agent. So that agent contact me. We talk. She told me you need to send me money for your brother to move from here to Akades. From there also he need to move from there to Sabah.
This whole process, from Gambia to Senegal, then to Mali, then to Niger, then to Libya, then across the Mediterranean, then to Italy. How many people are you dealing with when you're helping these people to cross Africa into Europe?
I was dealing with about 7 agents on the way, 7 agents.
And is this? Do they know each other? Is this one company, one business? Is it? How do you operate?
Yeah, they don't need to know each other. The only guy they need to know is me. They only came to know each other when my customers are moving from one point to another.
You say you've helped thousands of people to go to Europe. How many haven't made it?
90% of them have made it. 90% of them have made it.
But there's still 10% who haven't.
Yeah, some are back in town. Right now, only one is missing right now.
Which part of the journey is the most dangerous?
From Sabah to Tripoli became the most difficult one
Why?
because it is a desert. Because initially, around 2012, 2011, it only took them 4 days, 4 days to move from Sabah to Tripoli. But later, in 2016, it took them about 3 weeks to enter Tripoli.
How much money have you made doing this?
Seriously, me? In figures, I can say almost $1 million dollars.
So in dollars, how much would that be?
In dollars, you need to convert it from dollars to to dollar.
So it's a business that lucrative.
Yeah, it was a very lucrative business. Yes, yes, yes. It was too lucrative, man. It was a good business for me.
What did you do before?
Before, I was just a teacher.
A teacher.
Yeah, a teacher and a student at the same time.
Where did you teach?
I teach at the primary school here in Bakau. From there, I went to the nursery school in Bakau as well.
Do you sometimes feel guilty for what you do?
To feel guilty? No, I don't feel guilty. Instead of feeling guilty, I feel proud
Why do you feel proud?
because I was helping the hopeless to enter Europe. So when they're in Europe, they become more hopeful and even dependent by their family.
Miss Fatu?
Even their parents used to come to thank.
All right, thank you so much. If the deputy opposition leader is ready, the house is set.
Honorable Speaker, distinguished members, as the Deputy Prime Minister of this House, my roadmap is clear. I remind the House of the most of the good points of the Deputy Prime Minister, strengthening the points of the opposition leader. Add my first 2 points, accept if you are at 50 minutes of my speech, give an alternative, summarize and conclude. Honorable Speaker, the motion before us reads, this House believes that the tourism industry does more harm than good for citizens of developing countries. As Deputy Prime Minister, I rise to firmly reject this motion. We on the opposition bench believe tourism does far more good than harm. It is one of the strongest engines of economic growth, cultural revival, and environmental protection for developing nations like the Gambia. Honorable Speaker, now moving forward to my rebuttals. First, the Deputy Prime Minister mentioned about public health, that tourism has public health. Honorable Speaker, what is the reality? Of course, this is his point is baseless because if you look at our distance, our health sector, whether we are in the peak of tourism or not, still now our sector has a problem. But what we need money to revitalize our sector. And those money are brought forth by who? By tourism. Honorable Speaker, his next one was housing crisis. Honorable Speaker, that is not in but what? He never told us how that happens. But Honorable Speaker, even the fact is that claim of tourism forces people outside their house is nothing but misleading. Most relocations occur through planning development that improve infrastructure and living standards, Honorable Speaker. He mentioned about political marginalization and loss of local agencies. What agencies, Honorable Speaker? Sometimes I continue to doubt it. What political? Does tourism has anything to do with politics? Of course not, Honorable Speaker. These are just baseless and even out of context points, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, now moving forward to straightening the points of the opposition leader. First, he mentioned about tourism promotes peace. Uh, First, he mentioned about tourism improves infrastructure and attracts investment. Honorable Speaker, uh, tourism brings foreign exchange and development. This was reported by UNWTO 2023, shows that tourism boosts infrastructure investments, roads, airports, and digital connectivity. Honorable Speaker, even the Prime Minister mentioned areas like in the Gambia, Kololi, Bijilo, and Ketsarin have seen improved roads, which is factual. We've all have seen it. Electricity and communication services due to nothing other than tourism. So if the opposition bench is talking about what, I don't know, they just mislead in this house. But Honorable Speaker, the second point mentioned by the Prime Minister was tourism supports environmental protection. Honorable Speaker, ecotourism turns environmental care into community income. UNP report 2020 confirms ecotourism supports global biodiversity. In Abu
POI,
Nature, local youths are
POI,
employed as guides protecting forests while
POI,
earning from
please.
it. Honorable Speaker, this is the balance between economy and ecology. Honorable Speaker, the opposition leader also mentioned tourism fosters global exposure and skill development. Honorable Speaker, the ILO 2023 ranks tourism among the top 5 youth skills drivers worldwide. It builds communication, hospitality, and entrepreneurial skills. In the Gambia, many successful business owners started as hotel attendants or tour guides. Tourism builds both income and intellect. Honorable Speaker, now moving forward to my points. First, tourism promotes uh, now moving forward to my points first. Tourism
POI,
empower women and youth. Honorable Speaker, tourism
POI.
gives a platform to the most marginalized. Honorable Speaker, a report which was published by the WTDC 2024 report shows 35% of foreign SMEs are women-led and 40% of workforce are youth. Who are these, Honorable Speaker? They are nothing other than the most marginalized people in our society. Honorable Speaker, women who rely on who once relies on subsistence farming now own guest houses, craft shops, and food stalls. In developing countries, Honorable Speaker, tourism is economic liberation in our
POI, POI.
please don't waste my time. You can go ahead. Honorable Speaker, since I'm giving him time and he's wasting my time, I may just continue. My second point, Honorable Speaker, tourism promotes uh, my second point will be tourism attracts
POI.
broader investment. I have given you time. Please don't waste my time. Go ahead.
It's so funny how you try to debunk my point without telling us what the truth is actually. Okay, now, can you name one developing country where tourism alone has successfully lifted the majority of citizens out of poverty? I bet you can't.
Well, you don't understand anything. You even don't understand the motion that you tabled by your prime minister. This house does not tell you that it removes citizens out of poverty. Understand it. It tells you whether it does more harm or good to the countries. It does not tell you it uplifts everybody out of poverty. But of course, I will tell you, even in the Gambia, as a fact, it has uplifted many people, as I mentioned earlier, by when I was strengthening the points of the opposition
Of the,
leader.
of
I don't
the
speak. I'm moving forward to my second point since these people are confused. They don't know even what they are doing or what they are saying. My second point talks about tourism attracts broader investment. Tourism brings more than visitors. It attracts foreign direct investments. Honorable Speaker, this was reported by UNWTO 2023. Found tourism increased national
POI.
investment by 20%. Please, I'll accept only one. Forget about it. I'll not accept it. By 20%. In the Gambia, tourism-led zones in Banjul and Kololi have drawn investors in housing, telecommunication, and agriculture, all improving citizens' lives. Honorable Speaker, as as we sit in this house, all our service, all our work is to improve the lives of our citizens. And if a sector is doing that, There is nothing we should do besides supporting that sector, Honorable Speaker. And one of those sectors is none other than the tourism sector. Honorable Speaker, now moving forward to our alternative. Honorable Speaker, we do not deny the industry's imperfection, but the solution is not abandonment, it is improvement. The way forward is empower local entrepreneurs and women-led SMEs, invest in ecotourism and sustainable infrastructure, use tourism revenue to fund education, healthcare, and green projects. Honorable Speaker, tourism, where reformed through inclusivity and sustainability, becomes a force of national renewal. Honorable Speaker, now moving forward to my summary. Tonight, I have reminded the House the motion reaffirm our stance that tourism does more good than harm, rebuted the false claims of the opposition leader, which was about public health, housing crisis, political marginalization, and lost local agencies. Honorable Speaker also strengthened the points of the opposition leader, which were tourism improves infrastructure and attracts investment, tourism supports environmental protection, tourism fosters global exposure and skills development. Honorable Speaker, conclusion. Tourism is not a trade, it is an opportunity. It feeds families, preserves culture, and connects nations. Developing countries rise when they turn visitors into partners and tourism into empowerment. Honorable Speaker, therefore we on the opposition bench stand proud and
Um,
unwavering. Tourism
time is up.
harm for citizens of developing countries. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So, if allowed, we would take another 5 minutes break before starting with the next round.
Thank you so much, Adjudicator. Now this will lead us to the contributing session. The floor is now open for contribution. So if you have anything to say with regards to the motion, then you may kindly raise your hand. Aminata Cisse, your hand is up. Please, you may kindly comment. Well, well, it seems like that was a mistake from Aminata's side. So to the rest of the members or the rest of the people in the call currently, if you have anything to say with regards to the motion, please kindly raise your hand. Mr. Finance, please, you may comment.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Education Minister, Fatfai. First of all, I just want to thank all the debaters. I think they did well. Yeah, you guys tried definitely. I've learned new things. Understand? So that's the beauty of debate. Yeah, but actually, for me, I think I believe tourism is very good. Tourism is very good. It contributes a lot to economic development and economic growth. So as a result of that, I think it will be quite important. Government finds ways of trying to monitor it in such a way that it is going to be profitable. One of the reasons why tourism fail in most of the African countries is because we don't want to protect the things we have. Let's say, for example, here in India, if you go to their zoos or maybe their museum, just look at the way they decorate it just to attract tourists and things like that. So I believe that is what needs to be done. And then other than that, tourism is perfect. It contributes a lot. And in fact, if you move further to some extent of economy, some people in fact believe that it is one of the organs of government. Because if you look at tourism, it does not only come with the income and things like that, but sometimes it in fact brings technology. Yeah, it brings technology. So that's very good, because if you look at countries like Gambia, how many people are enjoying today because of tourism? Yeah, Gambia, how many people are enjoying today, because of tourism. If you look at some of our youths, they are not in Gambia, and then the reason why some of them are not there, we know very well. So I believe tourism is important, and then we just need to find ways of trying to modernize it and make it, looks very attractive. So that's what I have. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Finance Minister, for this wonderful contribution. To our previous president, Mr. Mbo, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so very much, Madam Pai. Greetings, everyone. Let me say good afternoon or evening from the Gambia. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be part of this discussion. Yeah, actually, my contribution on this topic, I believe, is based on two things. That is, first of all, I believe it's high time as Gambians, we sit back and look into how we define tourism. So if you come to the Gambia, whenever we talk about tourism, like all our minds went to these white people. Pam, for us, we believe those are the only people that we can call tourists. While tourists is more than that. Like if you go to other countries, like you have what we call like domestic tourism, you have what we call healthcare tourism. People travel to countries for different purposes. But for the Gambia, it's just different. The only thing we know is about these white people just coming for holiday, come enjoy the country and go their way like that. No, no, no. It should be more than that. So for me, what I want is that, like what I would say is that the Ministry of Tourism or those handling the tourism sector, they have to like rebuild our tourist industry. Because look at it, we have beaches, we have some very important historical places like that of the Stone Circle there. You have also Mongo Park. A lot of things here in the Gambia. But it is very difficult. Or sometimes even if you visit those places, you are not motivated to go again. So it's high time now they sit back, and make sure that they make those places lucrative and make it in a way that people will want to visit those places and people talk about them. So that's a way out. And tourism is very important. And there are a lot of these developed countries now, they depend on tourism, whether it is the United States, UK, or any other country. Like I can say, they really depend on tourism. So Gambia, we have the resources needed and we have the opportunity. It's high time we grab it and make best use of it. But it's not like sometimes if you go to the beach side, you will see very beautiful places and people won't be there. Even Gambians themselves don't utilize it. So it's not paying at all. It's not paying. And Gambia is a country that should have made a lot from tourism. So that's my contribution to it. Thank you so very much. And thank you to UTGDA for your loyal, service because last year we were here together. This year also you people are here and doing a wonderful job. We really appreciate it. And thank you. Thanks to the Nine Executive Council for the great job you people are doing. We are really following, although sometimes we might not be available throughout, but sometimes, when we have time, we'll inshallah keep in and then, be there with you people. Thank you all. And thanks to my Gam family. Jërëjëf.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mbo, for those wonderful contributions. And yes, we are following your footsteps, so I believe we're doing well now. So if any of you has any other contribution to make, Mr. Jallo, our Ibo Alcalo, your hand was up, but seems like you've lowered your hand. Yes, Mr. Wise, please, you may come in.
Yes, I'm back again. But why is this place quiet? Where is Barseni? Where is Luis? People should come out. Tourism is very important. Now, back to the topic. Boss said something here that is very important. He was trying to make us understand the definition of tourism. He was in fact saying that in Gambia, if you talk about tourism, people will talk that people will think that you are talking about only the white people. And I believe tourism is far beyond that. It's far beyond that. Like like anything that has to do with someone coming to your country, I believe it is part of tourism. Because if you look at, for example, look at Taj Mahal. If you go to Taj Mahal, ask those people that went there before. Like if you go there, like if you're an Indian, I think you pay around maybe 200 or less than 500. But if you're not an Indian, you pay 1,000 plus. So see the amount of revenue Taj Mahal is generated. And not only Taj Mahal, even some of the historical places that they have here in this country. If you go there, you're not an Indian, you have to pay more. So the only reason is that they make sure that they decorate the place, and then they make sure that always they will advertise and everything. But unlike our country where tourism is not that much advertised. And then I think first point of contact is very important. If you look at Gambia, when you land at the airport, sometimes it's so confusing. So from that place, the tourists should be like they should be entertained. They should feel like they why isn't decoration? No problem. Yeah. So that is it. I believe we should make sure that we modernize the way we are doing tourism in the Gambia, and not in fact only in Gambia but even the surrounding countries. So this place is quiet. You people have to come out. Fatfa, thank you.
Thank you so much, Wise. It seems like they're running. Okay, yeah, it's back. So yeah, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. And then good evening to those in India. And then for those in Gambia, I don't know whether it's good afternoon or it's good evening. So let's back to the topic, which tourism. So for me personally, I believe that tourism is a double-edged sword because depending on whether it do more harm than it do more good than harm, it depends on how the government manage it. Let's say if it is sustainable, locally managed, and then benefits are equally shared, then yes, we can say that tourism do more good than harm. But when it is poorly regulated, it is often we can also say that it often harms citizens more than it helps. Because let's say if we look at tourism, let's say it's do help the okay whatever time it is there. Okay, no problem. Okay, if you look at tourism, it creates jobs. That is something that we cannot deny. And then it creates direct jobs and then indirect jobs. If you look at the direct jobs also, because let's say hotel staffs and then receptionists, housekeepers, chefs, waiters, all these are direct jobs. Tour guides, let's say those are the people who guide the visitors through attraction parks and then also cultural sites and other places. So those are direct jobs. If you look at the other way around, the indirect jobs that it creates also, because when we have more hotels and then lodges, there'll be market for farmers also. So farmers and the fishermen, they will supply food to hotels and then restaurants, construction workers to build these hotels and then artisans also are there. Those who will produce crafts and then furnitures and other stuff. So all these are benefits of tourism. But if you look at the other side of the sword also, that is because I in the beginning I said it's a double-edged sword. Uh, let's say the harm that often goes unnoticed is, let's say when a country is too dependent on tourism, it will weaken their economy. Their economy becomes very, very fragile, and even a single crisis can wipe out their entire jobs overnight, and then their GDP will fall down drastically. Let's take a look at COVID-19 pandemics. Let's say many countries that were overly dependent on let's say on tourism during 2022 when the borders were shut down. Let's say many people were not traveling across, and then the tourism sector, countries that depend on tourism highly, over dependent on tourism, they really feel it because their economy was really, really weakened. So these are some of the disadvantages that it can come with. So I believe that it's a double-edged sword, and then for it to do more good than harm, the government has to properly manage it and then make sure it is sustainable, because otherwise it will harm the citizens more than the good side also. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Carlos. So, if any of you has any contribution to, okay, wait. Oh, the education team are done. So, you can kindly take over.
All right, thank you so very much. So before announcing the results, the deputy SG, who was part of the adjudicators, will want to give feedback. Then once he is done, I would announce the results.
Sorry, Miss Jamike, may I come in, please?
Yes, yes, please.
So sorry to chip in, but the announcement of the results should be done after the second session. Probably we can have just the analysis, and then we start the second session. Then we'll have the announcement of board results, please.
All right, that's very okay with us. So I think the deputy SG would just give feedbacks. Then once he is done, we could start with the second round of the debate. The results are ready. So once the second debate is done, we would announce all. Thank you so much.
All right. Am I audible? All right. Thank you so much, Miss Jamiki. Good afternoon and good evening to our brothers and sisters in India. I just have brief remarks when it comes to the debate in general, but because of time factor, I will just summarize sort of some of these remarks I have. Then we move on to the next round of debate. So the motion that we had here was this House believes that tourism does more harm than good for the citizens of the developing countries. So generally, I think it was a very good debate. I mean, arguments were flowing from both benches. But these are just some of the remarks that I have when it comes to the debate at hand. So number one remark was the understanding of rules. I think some of the debaters were struggling when it comes to the rules. I mean, I don't want to go straight into each debater, but I will just generalize sometimes. When it comes to, in fact, the perimeter that was set and it went unchallenged, it was just widening, but it was not challenged. So I think that was also a problem when it comes to this debate. That is why there was no sense of direction when it comes to the debate because it was more broad and general. So I think if the perimeter was set concurrently or currently, it will have helped the debate with a very straight direction. But that was not set, and also the opposition side did not challenge the perimeter that was set. So I think that was from both sides. I think also understanding of the motion, which is an opinion-based motion, was also a problem, as one of the speakers said. The motion is a double-edged sword, meaning it can both go both ways, and you will both be correct and you will both be right. So it will depend mainly on some of the arguments that you will bring forward. So I think that was also one of the problems we had. And I believe also when it comes to the Gambian context, if the debaters debated more on the Gambian context, it will have helped the debate. But I believe, as I've alluded earlier, when it comes to the perimeter, this affected the debate. But if we had the Gambian context, instead of just general problems of the tourism industry, if you are just to debate on the general problems of the tourism industry, and you mention countries like Thailand, India, and others, there are problems when it comes to the tourism industry in those countries will be far different from the problems that we have in this country, that is the Gambian context. So I believe that was also a bit lacking in the debate, you know. But we can understand that sometimes what in Gambia, what happens in Thailand can also be applicable in Gambia. But generally, I think that was a very good debate with just certain points that could have been very, important that we contextualize them in our Gambian context. I believe I had when it comes to the 20% GDP, 20% GDP that the tourism industry contributes to the Gambian economy. So I think that was also a very good statistics made by one of the speakers, and I believe that would have been the center of the debate when it comes to tourism does more harm or does more good to our developing countries. But I think for now, I will just reserve some of my remarks when it comes to the debate in general, and we move on to the second round of debate. Then there will be general overview of remarks of both the debates, then the announcement of results. So yeah, thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Adjudicator. So I guess you can still you can proceed. Sorry, the floor is still yours, so you can go ahead with the commencement of the second session, please.
All right, give us a minute. Some of the educators will be joining us, so we will settle that out. Then we get back to you.
Ever since I was a student, my profile was always high. My reputation was too high. But I can see that it have increased my reputation in the society.
What does it take to do what you do? Do you have pleasure out of transporting people from Gambia out to Europe?
Yes, yes, yes. Because without pleasure, I will not do it. Yes, because they appreciate it, and there are people also appreciate it. So when they appreciate it, then it's a pleasure to me.
Those that come back, do they want to return again?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. They come back. They came back because they get new hope in the new government, as we call it, New Gambia. So right now, everyone here is very hopeful about the future of the country. So that's why they come back.
Do you think, in many ways, Yahya Jammeh helped this business?
He he had the business. To me and the other agents or the other mediators or the other interceders, he helped the business.
How did Yahya Jammeh help your business?
By being a dictator in our country, by trying to restrict all the opportunities that the Gambians should have. So he helped the business.
And he created opportunities, at least.
He created opportunity for me and my co interceders to have a better living condition.
For those who want to take this journey, who are here in Gambia, what do you tell them before they leave?
Yes, I used to counsel them and advise them normal before they move. Because, when they are coming to me, they came directly to me without their parents. So when they came to me, I used to sit with them, talk with them before they start the journey. Because you cannot go without fun. Because as you said, the journey is too risky. So the only way to survive on the journey is with fun. With fun. Without no fun, you cannot make it, like, seriously. So my first concern used to be fun, whether you have the fun and the support. Then the traveling documents like national identity card and then vaccination card.
They take this risk and they stay in vans like this for days.
Yes.
Do you tell them this?
Obviously, because before they even start the journey, I still told them the procedures on the way. That from this place to this place, you will go with a bus. From this place to this place, you will use desert to reach your destination. And from this place to another this place, you will go by boat. Basically, they even knew the risk, or they even knew the route.
Tell me about the youngest person that came to you to go to Europe.
Yes, the youngest person was a 16-year-old boy.
Do you tell them what to say to the European authorities? How to behave?
Yes, I do advise them.
What would you tell them to say?
Ms. Fatou, the house
When
is
you're in
set.
Europe, tell them that.
All right. Thank you so very much. So just to confirm, I hope all the debaters are set for the second round. Can the debaters kindly just react so that we know that they are all available, please? Okay, thank you so much for that. So for the second round, the motion reads: This House believes that economic sanctions are effective in compelling foreign states to abide by international human rights standards. If the Prime Minister of the House is set, the adjudication team is ready for Imoha.
Can I confirm my visibility and audibility, please?
You are.
Okay. Yeah. The economic sanctions are how international community says enough is enough. They cut down legitimacy, power, and money from those who abuse their citizens. From South Africa to Myanmar, from Russia to Philippines, history shows that it was. So today, this House believes that economic sanctions are not only effective,
They are not only effective, they are essential for defending human dignity without firing a single shot. Honorable Speaker of the House, allow me to give you the rundown of my debate. First, I will remind the House about the motion, define the key terms, set a perimeter, give my argument, pre-rebuttal, summarize, and in summary, I shall conclude. Now, the motion of the House reads, this House believes that economic sanctions are effective in compelling foreign states to abide by international human rights standards, in which, as the Prime Minister of this debate, I stand in firm preposition. Now, to the definition of this key term, first thing that I have is economic sanction. It means a cohesive measures imposed by one or more countries to influence that opportunities, the behaviors or policies of another state by restricting trade, finance, or economic relations. The second thing that I have is foreign state. It means a sovereign nation that exercises political authority over its territory and population, recognized under international laws as being independent. The third thing I have is abide by international human rights standards. It means to comply with norms and obligations set out in international human rights instruments, including Universal Declaration for Human Rights and related treaties. The fourth thing that I have is effective. It means producing a significant or measurable change in a state behavior that aligns with the intended policy goal. The last thing I have is compelling. It means to force or persuade a state to change its behavior or policies even when it initially resists doing so. My source is from United Nations Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights 2024 edition. Now to the perimeter of this debate, Honorable Speaker. This debate focuses on modern targeted economic sanctions such as trade sanctions, asset frozen, travel and technological bans and financial bans used by the international community in the past 5 decades to pressure the states to comply with the established human rights standards. Now, moving to my friends, Honorable Speaker. The first thing that I have is economic sanctions create powerful and measurable economic pressure. Yes, because it cuts off vital access to international finances, technology, and markets. Because for creating direct costs that compel compliances from countries whom you know that they are involved in these inhuman activities. Now, the statistic to back this one, Peterson Institute for International Economic Studies in 2007 shows that sanctions are successful in about 34% of cases, with a 42% success rate when the goal involves human rights or democracy. That will take me to an example about South Africa in 1980s. The UN and Western sanctions cost the apartheid regime over 11 billion US dollar in trade losses and reduced the GDP by 1.5% per year, pushing it toward democratic transition in 1990, which shows how powerful economic sanction is for countries whom you know that they violate human rights. My second point, Honorable Speaker, economic sanctions serve as a credible deterrent. Yes, the existence of sanctions mechanism deters other states from repeating the past mistakes that has been done by other countries. This will take me to my statistic. Institute for Economics and Peace in 2022 reported that countries threatened with sanctions for human rights violations were 27% less likely to escalate repression in the following year. For example, in the Philippines in 2019, softened police crackdown after U.S. Magnitsky sanction targeted officials linked to extrajudicial killings. This shows that even when not applied, sanctions create a normative deterrent effect, reinforcing the violation of human rights, tangible cost, which is being paid by the people whom you know that they are involved in human rights violation in their country. My third point, Honorable Speaker, sanctions promote democracy and institutional reform. Even if sanctions don't cause immediate compliance, which I agree as the Prime Minister of this debate, but also they foster structural changes that lay down a better governance and respect for human rights over time. It happens in the long run. It doesn't just happen in a short period of time. You cannot sanction a country and then you expect them to change within that short period of time. Now, Harvard Kennedy School study 2021 found out that countries under sustained human rights related economic sanctions shows a 25% improvement in the governance and civil liberties scores with the 5 years after sanctions were lifted. This will take me to my example in Myanmar 2011 to 2015 shows a GDP growth of about 7.2% reported by World Bank in 2016, showing that economic isolation can intensify institutional reform for integration. It shows that economic sanctions don't just punish today's wrongdoing; they lay down a groundwork, which you know that the people who are involved in the people who have been economically sanctioned and then who are involved in human rights violations can follow the due process and then be democratically sustainable and change for the better. Now to pre-reporter, I know my opposition bench might come and talk about economic sanctions hurt in innocent civilian more than the government. We agree. We agree, yes. We agree that economic sanctions in 1990s sometimes cause civilian suffering. But that is why modern sanctions lay a groundwork so that leaders can follow it. Because the UN Sanction Handbook of 2020 focuses on specific individual allies and sectors, not on the general population. Because when Russia's Russia's state asset of 300 billion US dollar has been frozen. That did not save like Russia's medicines, food that has to be given to the citizens has been frozen or has been sanctioned. So another thing, they might talk about economic sanctions really achieve their goals. There's a partial truth that ignores the context that we are talking about today, because 2015 nuclear deal of Iran sanction directly triggered the negotiation reforms on or compliance. Sanctions are not instant fix, like I said earlier on. They are long-term groundwork for change in the long run. Third thing, they might talk about finding of new trading partners. If countries has been sanctioned, they can find new trading partners. They can try, but the data shows that adaptation is costly and limited and also very, very expensive. Because when Russia turned to China and Iran after 2022, it faced a 15% GDP contraction reported by IMF in 2023 and a massive loss of Western tech and capital, which shows that economic sanctions still inflict heavy economic strains on the people whom you know that they are, because your trading partners can charge you heavily be doing them. Now, that will take me to my summary, Honorable Speaker. First, I have come before this Honorable House, defined the key terms which were compelling, effective, for instance, abide by international rights standards and economic sanctions. I have also give my three valid points, which were powerful, measurable economic pressure, serve as a credible deterrent, promote democracy and institutional reform. I have also debunked the baseless that might go forward by the opposition bench. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Madam Prime Minister. Uh, the moderator, you can give us few minutes so that we can accumulate her points, then get back to you. Thank you.
You are living here as an orphan. You cannot have access to better living condition or the basic living condition like education, because as a teenager or as a kid, the most important thing for you is education. So when they normally, that is the first thing they used to complain in Europe, that they are here, they were denied their right to educate. So others, like others, they used to say they have issues with the former government or the former president. So they try by all means to access all necessary documents or all supporting documents that can show to the Europeans that those people have issues with the former president, that is Jame. So with that, they are normally given asylum, and so they can live in Europe the way they wanted.
Are you in contact with smugglers or agents, like you say, in Europe?
The people normally I have to enter Europe is only for education, because I got some contacts in Ukraine and also in Cyprus. So basically, it's only for students.
Have you taken the route yourself?
I was once tempted to go. That is the time in 2010 when my brother was going. I wanted to go with him initially, because by then life was somehow difficult for me myself.
So why didn't you go?
I did not. I did not go because of the advice of my father. Because I cannot be on the same journey with my younger brother.
How does your father, your parents feel about what you do?
Yeah, initially they were feeling scared. They were afraid that maybe if I may be caught, so they were afraid. So they used to advise me to either stop the business or to do it in a secret. Yes, but later they realized that what I was doing was not illegal.
How is it not illegal?
Yeah, it wasn't illegal because I never forced them to go. and we are forced them to go.
How many people like you are there in Gambia?
I can tell you, there are many people in the Gambia like me.
Is this something that you hope to continue in the future?
No, not really.
What do you want to do?
I'm an educationist, a teacher, and also a youth activist. So my role in the society is to empower youths and also give the best of my knowledge to my students.
Do you think now that there's a new government, people will continue to try to go to Europe, or will that change things?
Yeah, the new government will not change people's way of traveling. You know, here in the Gambia, even if you need this now, a better education, you must go to Europe, like myself. So people obviously will go to Europe still now, no matter what, whether it's through the back way or the front way, they will go. But I wish they go through the normal way. That is way.
You mean the legal way?
The legal way. No, not only the legal way, because going through the back way is another legal way. But the proper way is through the flight or with the visa. That is the proper way. This one is improper. That is the back way route is improper. Because when you enter Europe, you must struggle for papers. But when you go through the normal way or the proper way, therefore you access your papers very easily.
The UN estimates the illegal trade of smuggling people to be worth more than $35 billion, and it's booming. Despite joint efforts by police forces from Europe and Africa, few smugglers have been arrested or prosecuted. El Boy is considered a hero in his community. Families save up for years and take loans in order to send one of their children on this journey. This is a lucrative trade on the back of some of the poorest and most vulnerable people on the planet who are willing to pay the price for this trip. Ahead will be the desert, where they will face hunger and heat. Then the sea, where they will face exhaustion. Perhaps they are unaware of the challenges to come. These are young men and women willing to take the risk for a new life in Europe and a chance to help the families they left behind.
Miss Fatu? All right, thank you so very much. If the opposition leader is set, the house is ready.
Oh my God. Okay. Am I visible and audible? Please, can you confirm my visibility and audibility?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. So, Honorable Speaker, respected judges, esteemed members of the House, we gather to debate a motion that sounds noble in words, but very cruel in practice. As a leader of the opposition, allow me to structure my speech. Firstly, I will remind the House of the motion, accept the Prime Minister's definition, widen the perimeter of the debate, review the government's illusions, present my co-arguments, accept POIs in the fifth minute of my debate, summarize, after which I shall conclude. Mr. Speaker, moving on to the perimeter of this debate, to the motion for this debate, that this House believes that economic sanctions are effective in compelling foreign states to abide by international human rights standards. We accept the government's definition. However, we move to widening the perimeter because the government is painting a claim, idealized picture of sanction as if they are surgical strikes that only hurt dictators. We reject this narrowing framing because in the real world, economic sanctions are politically selective, economically destructive, and morally inconsistent. They punish the powerless, empower the powerful, and devastate the innocent. Therefore, we, the opposition, will widen the perimeter to include all types of sanctions, all states, all human rights, and demand practical and not theoretical effectiveness. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister said that sanctions help end apartheid and improve human rights in South Africa. But that is absolutely false because apartheid ended not primarily because of foreign states,
but due to exceptional internal dynamics, which include decades of domestic violence. So sanctions alone neither cripple the economy nor directly end appetite. The other point that the Prime Minister also brought forward was that they promote democracy, including an institutional reform. But Mr. Speaker, how can they be promoting democracy? How can democracy be be promoted when in the whole, all they do is the citizens themselves are the ones who is suffering. You said if you stick 40,000 citizens die of medical shortage, that is not democratic? That is not human right protection. It is not democracy. It is human right violation, and you cannot protect justice by killing the innocent. Mr. Speaker, moving on to the rebuttal of moving on to my core points, which is first, economic sanctions are politically selective and not morally consistent. Honorable judges, moral inconsistency destroys credibility. Western states impose sanctions selectively, punishing some violators such as Zimbabwe, Iran, or Venezuela, while scheduling allies like Israel or Saudi Arabia, countries criticized by Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch for severe abuses. If they are truly talking about human rights, they would target all violators equally, but that is not the case. Global Sanctions Database in 2021 showed that over 60% of active economic sanctions target countries in Africa, Latin America, and Middle East regions with the least global influence. This inconsistency signals that sanctions are geopolitical tools and not moral instruments. And they might also, when one dictator is punished while another is protected, unity becomes hypocrisy, and hypocrisy can never be the foundation of justice. Mr. Speaker, moving on to my second point, which is economic sanctions harm global supply chains and cause collateral crisis. Economic sanctions do not stop at borders. They disrupt global trade, increase prices and hunger worldwide. The World Bank Food Safety updated in 2021 reported that after the US and the EU imposed sanctions on Russia in 2022, global food prices rose by 33%, and the UN FAO in 2023 estimated that 70 million people face acute hunger due to restricted grain and fertilizer exports. Bread prices in the Gambia, Egypt, Kenya, and even Ghana doubled, even though none of them were involved in the conflict. And the punishment of one state becomes, if the punishment of one state becomes the hunger of another, then sanction turns from policy to tragedy. You cannot say justice when million people starve. That is economic arrogance. That is not justice. If economic sanctions protect rights by starving the innocent, then whose right are we really protecting? Mr. Speaker, that takes me to my third point, which is economic sanctions paradoxically strengthen the regime they seek to weaken. In the Gambia, rather than overthrowing Jammeh, sanctions gave the regime a powerful narrative to say that foreign interference threatening national sovereignty. This fortified Jammeh's hold on power and justified brutal crackdowns on internal dissenters. Zimbabwe and Sudan similarly showed that regimes consolidated power using sanctions as propaganda tools to discredit proposition movement. Economic pressure simply signals hostility. It does not reform ideology or policies. Moving to the summary of my debate, Mr. Speaker. Today, I have reminded the House of the motion, accepted the motion's definition, widened the perimeter, rebutted the preposition's hollow claims, proved that economic sanctions are selective, destructive, and ineffective. In summary, I will conclude by, I have summarized and then I'll hereby conclude by saying that sanctions may sometimes coincide with positive change, but correlation is not causation. I accept the POI. I'm listening.
Okay, you are. If ordinary citizens suffer, isn't that because corrupt regimes choose to protect allies and exploit their people instead of using their resources responsibly?
What? Come again?
Okay, it's not my duty to make you understand since you don't understand the POI. That's it.
Well, all I had was you said if you're going to ask a question, you should make it clear for me to be able to answer. That means you're not interested in knowing my answer. So, Mr. Speaker, as I said, If decades of sanctions against Cuba, Iran, Syria, or North Korea, and Venezuela have not yielded human rights miracles, then a few ambiguous examples cannot prove that sanctions work as a rule. So sanctions make dictators richer, civilians poorer, and moral standing of the global community weaker. Therefore, this motion must not be accepted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we want to request for 2 minutes.
Yahya Jammeh, the president who boasted he could be in power for 1 billion years.
Gambians create dictators. We ourselves, as citizens, we make Jammeh to become a dictator.
I can say I'm better than anyone you would ever have in this country.
In the end, he managed 22 years of corruption, torture, and brutal political repression.
They came with live bullets and killed a lot of students.
But in 2016, the impossible happened.
My father strongly believed that Jammeh could be deposed.
Inspired by a campaign of radical protest, direct action, and revolutionary music, the people rose up, defying an attempt to rig the vote and bringing in a new elected president, Adama Barrow. At a time of global uncertainty, Gambians showed the world the power of democracy.
That was the first time an opposition leader won election. That was the first time it happened in this country.
Nobody had ever thought that one could defeat a dictator.
But as Gambians look to the future, there are concerns that the new president has been too slow to remove some of the worst offenders of the previous regime.
And they apply by the old mindset. The first thing you think of when you see people protesting, hey, no, okay, shut up, hey, put your, hey, da, da, da.
This is the story of how Gambians pulled off an extraordinary political heist and of the challenge they now face in escaping the shadow of Jammeh's rule.
We are on our way to Kanilai. Kanilai is the home of the former president. So today we would say what a luxury the president lived both in, his normal official palace and the palace he built for himself in his hometown.
Mohammed Sandeng and Kifa Barahama are two activists who grew up in the dark, deadly shadow of Gambia's former president, Yahya Jammeh. Both have first-hand experience of his brutality. Today, they're visiting the palace that was a symbol of his excess. On these grounds, Jammeh spent thousands of dollars on a personal zoo.
He used our funds to do all of this, to get all these animals from wherever they came from, and he's been feeding them with public money, obviously, and then there have been hundreds of thousands of Gambians outside there that really are living below the poverty line.
Jammeh and his inner circle looted at least $975 million of public funds. When he went into exile in 2017, age 51, he left the country with a debt of over $1 billion.
It's a relief knowing, Kanilai, a part of Gambia, is no more, a captive land, I would say, or let's say, it's no more a captured piece of land that has been thrown into whatever somebody wants, one person wants,
Jammeh first came to power in a military coup in 1994. As a young lieutenant leading a temporary military government, he promised a fresh start for Gambia. His coup came after decades of rule by Gambia's first post-independence leader, Dauda Jawara, a period marred by unemployment and allegations of corruption.
We have no plans to say law. All we are here for is to set a just system.
One of the young Gambians who witnessed Jammeh's rise to power was Yankuba Dabo.
They ushered into a new Gambia, which would create a lot of opportunity for everyone. And obviously, the mantra of the military junta at the time was transparency, probity, and tranquility. So this was something that resonated with everybody.
Fighting corruption, fighting nepotism, fighting Africa's disintegration.
During the 2 years of Jammeh, the first year, we are part of the guys who are really supporting him at the time because he wanted change.
But once Jammeh had power, he showed no sign of letting go. He used both the police and a personal security team known as the Junglers to ruthlessly cement his rule. Initially deployed primarily
Miss
against
Patel?
political enemies, this used
Thank you very much for that. If the deputy prime minister is set, the house is ready for him or her. Please, you are audible, but then we would prefer if your voice, it's a bit low.
Am I audible now?
Yes, this is good. That is good.
Yes, sanctions create economic pressure. That is very true. We agree. But that is exactly their purpose. It's not about punishing the people. It's about forcing the oppressive leaders to the negotiation table because moral appeals don't change dictators. Economic pressure does. Speaker of the House, in my humble capacity as the Deputy Prime Minister, allow me to lay down the structure of my debate. First and foremost, I will start by rebutting the baseless points given by the opposition leader because in life, you are either wise or otherwise. And opposition leaders have exhibited to be otherwise. Judging the points of my beautiful Prime Minister, give 3 valid points backed by facts, statistics, and evidence, summarize, and in summary, I rest my case. Strictly for the structure of my debate, starting with the rebuttals. Honorable opposition leader, sorry to say, but something is wrong with your head. You start by giving your points. First, you said economic sanctions are economically selective, and you went ahead by giving Roshi as an example. May I tell you that, like, don't you listen to the perimeter that was given by the Prime Minister. We are focusing on smart sanction. There is something called smart sanction, whereby the population or the citizens of that particular country are not going to be affected. Hereby, only the perpetrators, these people that are funding this genocide or engage in inhuman act by freezing their assets and banning their travel agents. Those are the people that we are focusing on and not the general population. Your first point was about economic sanctions are economically selective. You went ahead to give Rosie as an example. May I tell you that temporary economic inconvenience is a small price for defending global human rights and rule of law because silence is costlier. Your second point was economic sanctions harm global economic sanctions harm globally the global nation. Well, may I remind you that that's why narrow enforceable conditions and multilateral conditions matter. You get. So moving on to the setting of the points of my Prime Minister, she gave 3 valid points. First of her point was sanctions create a powerful and measurable economic pressure. I mean, this economic pressure, it weakens the regime's ability to fund oppression. If you see a nation is funding oppression, it's because they have the capabilities, they have the fund to fund human act. Yes, go ahead, please.
I did not say economic sanctions harm global leaders. Rectify yourself.
Okay, thank you very much for rectifying, but that's what I had. with all due respect. So second of to further back the point of the statistic, the point of by Prime Minister by a statistic. So according to the BBC in 2022, that Western sanctions cut Russia's GDP growth by nearly 3% in 2022 alone and slashed foreign investment by over 70%. That's why theoretical pressure, that's measurable economic leverage. That is the power of economic sanctions. Her second point was economic sanctions serve as a credible deterrent. I mean, Honorable Speaker, if you talk about economic sanctions serving as a credible deterrent, we have to note that sanctions protect the integrity of international law. It protects the integrity of international law here. They say to every nation, violate human rights and you shall pay for the price. Her third point was sanctions promote long-term democracy and institutional reform, which is very true. Let's take South Africa as a classical and explicit example. Like global sanctions in the 1980s crippled its economy, forced internal reform, and paved the way for the end of apartheid, economic isolation, pushed the region towards political isolation. And this was in 1980s. In now, there is something called the smart sanction in this global era. That's the smart sanctions that we are going through, we are going by, thereby targeting only the specific sector and not the general population. Moving on to my own point, Honorable Speaker. First of my point is sanctions are a peaceful alternative to military intervention. We all know sanctions allow countries to punish wrongdoing without using violence, example war, without not interfering in any form of war or violence. They are authorized under Article 41 of the UN Charter, which promotes non-military enforcement measures. So instead of war or invasion, sanctions they punish these countries diplomatically and economically. Let's take an example. Sanctions on Iran from 2006 to 2015. So they pressure it into signing the nuclear deal, which is the JCPOA, avoiding armed conflict. Statistic to back this point, Honorable Speaker. Let's look at the oil revenue losses on Iran. So according to the UN Charter, between March 2024 and March 2025, Iran has had approximately United States dollars 23.2 billion from oil exports, which is crude, condensate oil and fuel oil, etc. It should have had over United States dollars 28 billion, but due to sanctions, Iran has lost United States dollars 5 billion due to invasion and trade distortion. That is the power of economic sanction. And next second statistics, let's look at the drop in exports in China. This was reported by the Iran Open Data. In October 2024, Iran was exporting to China 1.8 million barrels per day. By January 2025, flows had dropped to below 850,000 per day. That's more than 50% decline in crude deliverance in just a few months. That is the power of economic sanction. Moving on to my second point, Honorable Speaker, which is targeted smart sanctions minimize civilian harm. Opposition leader, I hope you are opening your ears to this point. So let's say modern sanctions are selective, which means they focus on elites and specific sectors and not the general population. They include travel bans, asset freezes and armed embargoes on key decision makers. So look at the humanitarian goods, such as the food and medicine, are excluded, protecting the citizens and the population at large. Statistics to back this point. Let's look at the UNSC Resolution 2664 on humanitarian trade of 2022. It was adopted on December 2022 by 14 voted in favor, co-sponsored by 53 countries. This resolution mandates a standing humanitarian exemption to asset freeze measures across all UN sanctioned regions. That means basic goods and services are explicitly protected under these sanctioned regimes. I hope you get that. So another statistics is the EU transportation and expansion of CREATE 2023. This was reported by the ICRC blogs. I said I will only take one POI, which I did, so I thank you. Reported by the ICRC blogs that by the sanctions, which regimes both the UN-based and autonomous included a humanitarian exemption to asset freeze restriction using language from the UNSCR 2664. Moving on to my third point, Honorable Speaker, which is sanctions create a bargaining leverage for negotiation. These sanctions, they increase economic and political pressure on a country. If I see a country, because it will tell this country that you either reform or you negotiate, or economic sanction is put on you. So they make non-compliance costly, forcing leaders to reconsider harmful policies. You can imagine. And they relieve them from sanction acts as a carrot motivating countries to cooperate or to reform. Either cooperate or you reform. The statistics to prove this point, Honorable Speaker, let's look at the sanctions termination and compliance rates. So according to the MDPI analysis of 539 sanctions episodes, that is between 1994 to 2018, that 362 had been terminated by 2018. Out of these, about 76% ended by targeted complaints, either fully or partially, or via negotiation settlement. So let's look at the overall success rates. So in a sample of 115 cases, that was various sanctions, that was after the World War II, sanctions had contributed at least partially successful outcomes in 34% of cases, war behaviors ending aggression, etc. This success was lower by 23%. And also the trade linkage and the goal modesty, which is the control action. So to summarize my debate, Honorable Speaker, I come before this Honorable House. I rebutted the baseless points given by the opposition leader. As I said, in life, you're either wise or otherwise, and this opposition leader have exhibited to be otherwise. I said in the points of my beautiful Prime Minister, which were sanctions create powerful and measurable economic pressures. Economic sanctions serve as a credible deterrent. Then to summarize, and my point, which is sanctions are a peaceful alternative military intervention. My second point was targeted smart sanctions to minimize civilian harm. My last point was sanctions create a bargaining leverage for negotiation. So to conclude, I hereby say that when diplomacy fails and war is too cruel, sanctions become the voice of global consent. Thank you all for your kind attention.
Miss Pato, I think you could go on with the advert and just give us a minute. We're wrapping up with our marks, please.
Use of violence spilled out into the open.
He said a lot of things. He promised the Gambian a lot of things. But at the end, early 2000, he started attacking the population.
In April 2000, the streets of Westfield, just outside the capital Banjul, were filled with student protesters. One of their aims was to seek justice for the reported rape of a schoolgirl by a police officer.
At the time, I think there was this perception that the security forces or members of the security forces could do anything to anybody and got away with it. So the student went out there to protest against what happened to their colleague, but also to protest against the whole status quo at the time.
I was in grade 5. I was just in school and I heard people shouting. Then that's the time some other students came to our class and said, we all need to go out. There is something that has happened. They have killed our colleague. They have killed our friends.
And that protest turned crazy. You know? I remember that. I was like there with my uncle Lamimbo. He was taking me to school. And we were like right up the block at Church's Town, and it was all blocked up.
I've seen people falling down. I didn't know whether they were shot, but I've seen people falling down, people crying, students crying.
14 students were killed. Many more were seriously injured.
I was shot behind from the knee. The bullet entered back of the knee and went out of the kneecap. They came with live bullets. Those are the ones who came with the bullets and start firing at us and kill a lot of students. That was the turning point of my life. My aims and objectives were to be a doctor. And since then, no career development, no job, no opportunity for us, me and the rest of my colleagues.
He used that particular event, right, to show Gambians that
Miss Fatu?
You shut up, don't.
All right, thank you so much for that. If the next speaker is set, the house is ready for him or her, please.
Oh. Sorry. Am I visible and audible, please?
Yes, you are visible and audible, but we will appreciate if you could increase your voice, please.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. So how's my voice now?
Perfect.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay,
Political convenience drives sanctions, not justice. Honorable Speaker, in my capacity as the Deputy Opposition Leader, allow me to give you the structure of my debate. First, I will start by tabling the motion to the House. Second, I will debunk the basis point put forward by the government bench. I will strengthen the point of the Opposition Leader. My Honorable Opposition Leader, I will also give my own points backed by facts and statistics. I will answer one POI. I will give an alternative, summarize, then I can conclude. So to remind the House of the motion, this House believes that economic sanctions are effective in compelling foreign nations to abide by international human rights standards, which we strongly oppose. When I listened to the Prime Minister, I was really like baffled. I was like surprised. How can you bring such weak arguments in this House? Where the Prime Minister argued that um, economic sanctions promote democracy and institutional reform. This is one of the weakest arguments that I've had. So how can when the economy collapse, people lose hope, not gain freedom? How can they gain freedom? How can hungry people fight for freedom? So this is totally weak and it's baseless. So moving on to the deputy prime minister. The deputy prime minister also mentioned that peaceful alternatives, economic sanctions are peaceful alternative to military intervention. So this is an illusion. Like economic sanctions are coercive tools that harms the people more than they influences them. So this shows that economic sanctions are ethically and practically ineffective. And also the prime minister made mention about targeted sanctions, but you have to listen to my opposition leader. My opposition leader made it clear that the debate, widened the perimeter of the debate, that we are focusing on real world situations. You cannot just cherry pick what favors you and bring it here. But we know what is happening, like in Russia. You just pick. We know Russia. The state is sanctioned, not only individuals like Putin or the foreign minister. It's the whole state that is sanctioned. So your those arguments collapse. And also you mentioned about um, you also mentioned about what is the point? You also mentioned about like it is a serves as a credible deterrent, but this is not true because evidences have shown that in countries like North Korea, in countries like Iran, Venezuela, it does not deter them. Those countries are still going on, and there are massive human rights violations going on still. So moving on to strengthening the points of the opposition leader, my honorable opposition leader. So the opposition leader mentioned that economic sanctions are politically selective and morally inconsistent. Economic sanctions are often portrayed as instruments that promote human rights, but their applications reveal a pattern of reveals a pattern of selective application. For example, let's look at the US. The US applies sanctions on Cuba for human rights violation, but the same US strengthened trade ties and strategic partnership with Vietnam, a one-party communist state with documented human rights violations by international organizations. Okay, and also moving on to strengthen the second point of the opposition leader, economic sanctions harm global supply chains and trigger global crisis. So we cannot ignore this. This is a reality. How can we ignore this? Even we know when Russia invaded Ukraine, we felt it in Gambia. We felt it because these sanctions, the West sanctions Russia, but we felt it in the Gambia, thousands of miles away. So you want us, the government bench, honorable speaker, the government bench want us to forget about all that and just talk about targeted sanctions. But those were state sanctions, not targeted sanctions, and they affected a lot of people there. So moving on to strengthening the third point of my opposition
Go ahead,
leader.
please.
Okay, come in.
Okay. So would you rather let government violate human rights freely just to avoid temporary economic discomfort?
No. When the human rights are when the governments are violating human rights, you don't punish the whole state for that. You cannot do that. You cannot punish the whole state by imposing sanctions on the state. What you should do, I'm going to give alternative, and I will let you know in my alternative. So listen very well. So moving on to strengthen the third point of my opposition leader, economic sanctions paradoxically strengthen the regimes they seek to weaken. So we know this is a very fact. The greatest irony of this policy that it's achieved the opposite, it achieves the exact opposite of its intended goals. We know this when it comes to Venezuela, the autocrats that are there, sanctions did not deter them or did not remove them, rather strengthen them because it hands them propaganda tools that they can use for national unity, that they use to spark um, nationalism. Okay, so honorable speaker, moving on to my own points, economic sanctions violate the very human rights they are intended to defend. So economic sanctions don't only pressure governments, but they cripple economics, destroy livelihoods, and also they deny access to basic health. So I'll give you a statistics. According to the World Health Organization's 2010 report, which is titled Experiences from Zimbabwe on Cholera Outbreak. So this report found out that the 2008 cholera outbreak killed over 40,000 people, because hospitals have no supplies due to economic sanctions on Zimbabwe. Another example is Syria. Under the leadership of the tyranny Bashar al-Assad, sanctions cut off electricity supplies, and doctors were not able to operate using electricity. They only use their phone flashlights. Also, moving on to my second, I said I would accept only one POI, so forget about it. Now, economic sanctions push nations to new alliances. Honorable Speaker, we are very, very clear. Economic sanctions, they push nations to new alliances, not compliance. So when one door of trade opens, another door, when one door of trade closes, another door opens, and usually with those less concerned about human rights. And this article is very, very recent. This article, according to an article published by the Wall Street Journal just 5 days ago, that is on the 6th of October, Iran, which is under UN sanctions, it increases trade partner with this nation called China, and China accounts for over 90% of Iran's export, Iran oil export. So, Honorable Speaker, this shows that sanctions rarely compel obedience; they merely rearrange alliances, and that is a hard fact. Now, Honorable Speaker, moving on to the alternative of my debate, Honorable Speaker, the government bench is very clear. Instead of sanctions that harm civilians, we should use democracy, targeted aid, and support civil society to promote human rights effectively. Honorable Speaker, moving on to the summary of my debate, I came before this House. I tabled the motion at hand, debunked the baseless point put forward by the government bench. I stated the point of my honorable opposition leader. I gave my own points, which were economic sanctions violate the very human rights they intend to defend. Economic sanctions push nations towards new alliances, not compliance. I also gave an alternative. I accepted a POI, summarized, and I hereby conclude. In conclusion, Honorable Speaker, sanctions fail to compel nations to respect foreign states, to respect human rights violations, to respect human rights. So I urge. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for that. So the adjudication team will request for 5 minutes to compile all our marks together and give the final results and also a feedback to these debaters. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jamila, for that. And that brings us to the end of today's session. So, as usual, it is time for contribution. So, if any of you has anything to contribute with regards to the motion, then you may kindly raise your hand.
Come out in the streets again, you feel what I'm saying? Keep to yourself, or you're probably going to end up like that.
That kind of public uprising never happened thereafter.
Over the course of his rule, Jammeh repeatedly denied allegations of human rights abuses.
Those who accuse me of human rights violations, well, I leave them to the Almighty Allah. Allah will reward them. Allah will judge between me and them.
Jammeh appeared to pay lip service to democracy, yet increasingly presented himself as ruler for life.
How long you stay in power does not determine your fate. It's what you do that determines your fate, as far as I'm concerned. But let me tell you one thing. My fate is in the hands of the Almighty Allah. I will deliver to the Gambian people, and if I have to rule this country for 1 billion years, I will.
While Jammeh's repressive police tactics kept protesters off the streets, a new political space opened up online, in social media and music. In the early 2010s, rappers like Ali Cham, more popularly known as Killer Ace, began to exploit this new space that was far harder for Jammeh to control.
Yeah, this is where I live. I'm from Tallinding, for the corner, man. You see what it's like. You know, it's a ghetto. Yeah, but the ghetto is where, you know, there's a lot of beauty in the ghetto. If you listen to my music and you listen to my song, you can tell it's based on my surroundings, you know what I'm saying? Everyday stress, yes, it leads to frustration. I'm walking down dirty roads, which ain't got enough pavement. Waiting for a van, we ain't got no bus stations. My peoples are working extra hard until their guts are aching. And at the end of the day, don't get enough payment.
Killer's music began addressing some of the most obvious failings of the Jammeh regime.
You got this, you know, oppressive system. You got poverty. You got these young children who, you know what I'm saying, are going through things that they shouldn't go through as children. So I'm like, come on.
In 2015, Killer released a song that would put his life in danger. Titled Kuboka Sigetaji, the track carried a simple but radical message.
I mentioned corruption. I mentioned the lack of freedom of expression. I mentioned arbitrary arrest and detention. I mentioned the extravagant lifestyle that the president used to have, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of things that were not going right. Right after it was dropped, it was already viral. You know, so a few hours later, before the morning, like, the song had already spread like wildfire, you know what I'm saying?
Before long, Killer Ace feared he was being tailed by Jammeh's notorious death squad, the Junglers.
In my father's house where he lived, you know what I'm saying? They came there all black, climbed the house looking for me. You feel what I'm saying? When you see black at night, that's the, you know, that's the slaughter team, man. That's the Jungler team, just in case you don't know. That's what we were living in. But when you see the black, nobody dares to speak. The whole neighborhood is quiet. They, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's silent. They pack you up, throw you in the boot, you're gone.
While Killer Ace fled to exile in Senegal, frustration with Jammeh back at home was gaining momentum. Under Gambia's constitution, 2016 was an election year. Many suspected Jammeh would try and rig the vote. But some activists were now calling for electoral reform. One of the most prominent was Solo Sandeng.
It was something always on the table. We wanted electoral reform because we feel that the laws were not good. But Solo Sandeng was somebody who was really very strong against those kind of draconian laws.
Solo campaigned against what he saw as routine electoral abuses, such as handing voting cards to foreigners. In early 2016, Solo's son, Mohammed, worked as personal secretary to his father.
He had always been telling truth to power, you know, in any way that was going to be beneficial to us. I came from a very loving family, and then as a kid of a politician, I was exposed to politics very early.
As Solo spoke out, he took ever greater risks.
Each time I try to confront him, you know, in a very nice way about that, what he says is that I'm not doing this for myself, I'm doing it for you. and I'm doing it for a greater cause.
On the 14th of April 2016, Solo organizes a public rally protesting for electoral reform.
He was not naive. He knew what he was doing. He knew that he was challenging, a dictator.
Plainclothes security forces quickly surround the protesters and Sandeng is arrested. Kifa Barahama was covering the protest as a journalist. He saw the moment Solo was taken by the police and driven away.
I just come right at the window. I asked him, Solo, are you arrested? He just looked at my eyes and said, yes, I'm arrested. He said it, that these people, they wanted to kill me. You can go and write. This is what Solo Sandeng said from his mouth.
Another prominent activist, Nogoyin Jai, was taken alongside Solo. She saw firsthand what happened next.
Ntanin Solo beta wat kilinela. Montro tembulo kono baro wato 12 kata talang killing ka usifal. Yembondi wol to PIU kan samba. Yen samba set kata NIA. Doli ya bulol mutateng, doli ya singol mutabela aren tabulo kam dencho kam. Iba busa ya busa wolto fafat. Ya lipaten. Fo sumiate bulo kon.
On the streets of Gambia's capital, it wasn't yet known for certain that Solo was dead. All the same, many already feared the worst. Solo's arrest and subsequent disappearance was a warning shot that might have silenced the campaign for democratic change. Instead, it had the opposite effect.
That was what was needed. We only needed a catalyst to start, confronting Yahya Jammeh in his face.
For long-time opposition leader Ousainou Darboe, Solo's suspected murder had lit a fuse.
If Solo could die for Gambia, why shouldn't we go out? If we are to die, let us also die.
2 days after Solo's disappearance, Darboe called for another protest.
I called up our members of the exercise that now, tomorrow, we are going out into the streets.
The aim of the protest was to get my dad and the rest of the people that he was arrested with released, and especially him, dead or alive. And just then, they started beating us. They started hitting us with rifle butts, with batons, and then it got wild.
That's why them started firing tear gases, while the other protesters and the other people were also stoning them.
We were also arrested. I still feel the pain here because when I was winked off from the truck, I fell down and they kicked me.
Kifa sustained serious injuries during the protest.
Whenever I look at it, it's just like a nightmare to me. And seeing myself in this condition, this picture was taken after the incident, after the time I was beaten.
In the days after the protest, Kifa was detained by police and says he was tortured.
was born with a plastic bag, and this is the arm. This was the rifle butt that the security were using. They told me that you are going to drink our urine as your water. And they urine into a bottle. They open my mouth, take out the cloth from my mouth, and put the urine inside they forced me to drink it. And from there, they started smoking cigarette, offering the cigarette on my body. So I thought that oh my God, I'm going to die.
We had to leave because Gambia was not our Gambia anymore at that point in time.
Kiefer was released and he and Solo's family escaped into exile in Senegal. It was only then that they received official news that Solo was indeed dead.
Sen David call ma mu ne ma confirm nañ ne Solo dee na fa laa daanu ma xom boobu tamit xamatuma dara si àdduna.
It emerged that Solo had been denied a proper Muslim funeral. Without the knowledge of Solo's family, he'd been buried in a secret, shallow grave.
They just dumped him in a dugout hole as if he was a dog. I mean, they were subjected to the most horrendous treatment, brutalized.
So it seems like we don't have much contribution to make on the motion because no one raised their hand. Wes, we didn't hear from you this time. Yeah, Bassini and the others. What happened?
Yes, Fatbai, me guy, I'm really enjoying the documentary to be frank. I'm really enjoying it. So now onto the topic, economic sanctions. And I believe if you read about globalization, you will understand that for me personally, I don't believe in these economic sanctions and things. We need to have free movement of people, resources, ideas, and then everything. In that way, developing countries will also, benefit from, developed countries. But trying to put some restrictions will basically hinder, the development of developing countries. So I believe right now we should make sure that we integrate. We are in a global village, so our economies will be integrated such that all of us will benefit. So these are one of the reasons why America is still there, USA, they are on top. So no one is competing them. So the reason is because there are a lot of restrictions. But I believe if they open their borders and everything, and then allow movement of goods to other areas without any restriction, then countries like Gambia and then other African countries we really enjoy. So yeah, I really believe in that. Me, I don't believe in this thing of having power concentrated at one place. I believe that power should be decentralized so that everyone will enjoy. Because at the end of the day, we are all humans. No one should be deprived from your basic amenities. So I believe that is the reason. And these are some. Yes, and these are some of the reasons why still countries like Gambia we cannot develop because we don't have the technology, we don't have the resources. But anytime you want to import those resources, restrictions will be there that you have to do this, that you have to do that. So I don't believe in these economic sanctions. I don't think they are doing good. I believe they are taking us back. If you look at the if you are to say it, what is the world's aid today? Maybe I don't know, but I believe right now, at least almost half of the countries in the world should be enjoying. But as per statistics, if you look at it, I believe only few countries are enjoying. You can name them the likes of China, the likes of USA, the likes of Japan. So, and that is why we are still having these developed and then developing countries. I believe we should remove this concept of developing countries. The ultimate goal should be, all the countries should be developed such that Gambians will not leave Gambia and then, to go to Europe and look for better opportunities and things like that. So for me, that's my belief. Thank you.
Thank you so much, YS, for those wonderful contribution. Um, where's Yaya? Is he going to counter or support you this time around, or he has nothing to say? If any of you has any contribution to make, please, towards the motion, you may kindly raise your hand. Yes, Mr. Finance, please, you may comment.
Yes, we have some economists here. So where are they? The likes of Suleiman, and then where are they? These are yeah, come, you have to come. So these people are economists, though I'm not I'm not an economist, I'm an accountant. So that is it. Yeah, and others, please come. Baseni, why are you hiding?
Assalamualaikum. What? Yeah. Why? Bila bimbo ko tin na ngambul mo tara no. Ala boy bo ndol bi ko tin la. Menu la ra. Ko tin. Baro da. Mo ko video.
Sorry to. Is this okay? Sorry, I guess the adjudicators are done. So, Miss Jamie, we kindly take over from here. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that. Before announcing the results for both round one and round two, we would give the chance to our president, who was part of the adjudicators, to give a feedback for the second round. Mr. Ba, please.
Greetings, everyone. Can I please confirm if I am audible? Hello?
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah. I think that was one of the most competitive rounds that I've attended so far. And yeah, it is not a surprise because it is the semifinals. So semifinals are known to be very competitive, so it is really not a surprise. So let's begin by giving an overall. I'll actually be giving an overall analysis of the debate. So the motion of this house is saying this house believes that economic sanctions, are effective